the songs should mean a lot to you for sure, but you never know how they're going to do. It's so random. But when I finished it, I was like, I'm sure this is a banger. Like, you know, when you're like, I'm sure this is the one. Gets and Kano from like the grime scene. I love
him as well, especially Kano. I really do.
It's like everybody that's into hip hop hates house. Like, it's just like they just don't gel, you know. And the soundtrack it's just amazing. I don't know what it is or why it's so amazing, but yeah, it just gives you those feelings, and it's very memorable.
But you love me.
Like, production is so fun. I get so much out of it. I enjoy it, like every aspect of it.
But you love me.
Hey everyone, this is Wilde and welcome to episode 4 of the Wilde Sides podcast. Today's guest is none other than LAR. LAR has had a sensational rise in the melodic house scene over the last 4 years, with tracks signed to Anjunadeep, Sekora, Colorize and many, many more. Today, he talks about his roots from hip-hop to Ibiza and how he got into dance music, as well as breaks down his latest track, Anyone, released on Hathor Records. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. LAR, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Been wanting to get you on for a while, and this is also the first remote Wilde Sides that we're doing.
Okay.
So yeah, guys, it will be slightly different, but you will be able to still follow along the production on YouTube and whatnot. So Matt, I'm going to ask the first question, which is, was there a specific track, album, compilation or night out that kickstarted your dance music journey, or was it a particular genre? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I used to never really like dance music or a house or anything like that, because I was a big hip hop fan. I started in music through hip hop and grime. Like, I used to rap for like 6 years, and so that was like my introduction into music. It was through hip hop and whatnot. And it's like everybody that's into hip hop hates house. Like, it's just like they just don't gel. But then I stopped doing that when I was like 21. I went traveling and stuff, and started going to like Ibiza, and obviously Ibiza is just dance music everywhere, like some of the best dance music in the world. And so then I started going, like, my introduction into dance music was through drum and bass and dubstep, because it's kind of closely-ish related to hip hop because of the drum pattern. So that was kind of it. It was like, Chasing Status, Skrillex, who else? There was like Annie Mac, and like a lot of really good D&B artists back then. And that's kind of what got me into electronic music. But then what got me into melodic house and the music that I make now was kind of bonobo, a little bit of bonobo-ish, like the more organic side of dance music. But then like the really specific melodic house was a track which was Aura by Hathor. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy on This Never Happened. But that track, I heard it and it was like, this is amazing. Like, this is something I want to make. And it was just when I started getting into production again. So kind of like got me into the scene, I guess, or got me into the genre.
It's interesting you say, like drum and bass as well, because obviously drum and bass and grime are quite closely linked with like MCs and stuff.
Yeah.
You got people like Dizzy Rascal, who's a grime artist, but he's on D&B records, and
yeah, a lot of them. That's how they do the crossover, like into more dancey music, and sometimes like how they make their more commercial tunes. They'll be like D&B related, which is great. So yeah, I think it's kind of a bit of that got me into D&B as well. Like, some of my favorite grime artists will do some, like P Money did it, like Dot Rotten, like some artists like that. They crossed over into dance music a little bit, and it kind of got me into it. So yeah.
Nice, man. And so you were talking about, obviously, about melodic house and these tracks, like once you found Aura, or whatever the name is, on This Never Happened, were you like really crate digging from then, and like finding like your Yottos and your everyone else?
Yeah, pretty much. Like it was because I didn't even know who Lane 8 was, so I was just like I just heard that track. Well, my friend was a big Lane 8 fan, and so then he was like, "Yeah, you should check out his stuff." And Lane 8, I did like, but I didn't quite get like the goosebumps or like the same feeling I got as I did when I listened to like the Aura track. And so, but yeah, it like opened up a world of those kinds of artists, and so then I would deep dive into it, and then discovered Anjunadeep, like realized that they were like one of the bigger labels in the scene, and then Ben Boma and all of that. So yeah, I guess I did a bit of crate digging, but I didn't really go back in time through the genre, which maybe I kind of wish I did, because in hip hop, I like when I was developing and getting better at doing hip hop, it was when I was going back and learning more about like where it started and listening to like Tribe Called Quest and like like Tupac, Biggie, and all the guys that were like around beforehand. And so I never really did that with house music. It would more just be like, okay, what's going to come out next? Like when's Avora going to do his next track?
Yeah, yeah.
So stuff like that.
Do you think that's helped you though? Like, and obviously the later questions will go
Mm.
into it, but do you think that's helped you be a little bit more forward thinking and trying to not be a
Yeah.
purist at all?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, maybe it would make my sound more modern. I think like, maybe if you hold on too long into like the old school way of doing music, maybe your sound won't evolve, or maybe it won't catch on with people that
Yeah,
are
because it's
listening
like we've
nowadays.
always done this
Mm,
way, and it's like
yeah.
we always use this kit or whatever. Maybe it stopped you thinking that you have to
Yeah.
have like a M1 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think also, I mean, yeah, we might even dive into this kind of later into the questions, but I think a lot of what helps me is that I don't listen to that much of the genre. Is that I listen to a lot more of like indie music, or like really experimental music, or like just something that's not within the genre, because I find when I listen too much, I compare too much, and I reference too hard. Like I make something that sounds too close to somebody in the scene, and it's not beneficial. Then I'm like, oh well, I can't use this, or I need to remake this, or something like that. So yeah,
Like an anima bass or something that
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
makes.
exactly. Like that's what so many people are doing that now. Like they just listen to too much of the genre, and then they just replicating.
Yeah, I think
So,
I've started actively avoiding packs which now still have the anima
yeah,
stabs in
yeah.
because it is everywhere. It's
It's
absolutely everywhere.
crazy how quickly that sound has become boring as well. Like it's not been that long since he came out with like the first tracks with that kind of sound on, and it just got rinsed like within months and months. And then you start hearing all these copycats, and now it's like I hear it and I just get triggered. Like I'm like, oh, I can't listen to that.
Yeah, do you know what? It's horrible to say, and I'm not bashing anyone who's used it. Like, but
Mm,
sometimes when you hear it now, but it's like if it's tastefully done, it's okay. But like if
yeah,
it's really in your face, it's like they've clearly been
yeah.
waiting for this to come out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like identical. It's like, come on, bro. Like you know that sounds like Anima. Like, what are you trying to do here? But yeah, but the funny thing is, like that Anima sound was around before he did it. There was like it's just a noise synth, like sawtooth stap. It's not like anything that's like really crazy. And so people have been doing it, but he executed it so well, and then then people copy that like it's a new thing.
So yeah, I think we the next question, and I think I'm absolutely right in saying this, but you're on a bit of a roll recently. We were talking obviously just before that you have
Mhm.
two tracks on and the latest Anjunadeep compilation,
Yeah,
which came out 2 days ago, I think.
yeah. I think it was
Um,
Saturday.
yeah. So how are you keeping inspired, and how do you keep yourself interested in what you're making? Is there anything you do to like switch off or to get in the zone?
Um, I just like I'm very competitive, and so I'm like really competing with myself a lot. I'm trying to make a better the better version of myself every day, or a better song than I made yesterday or the week before. And so that's something that really pushes me to just be like, okay, cool, how can I do this a little bit better, whether it's just like a 5% better, down to the minute detail of just like my chords maybe a month ago were like this, but okay, how can I improve them this month? You know, just like little details like that. And I'm also competitive with people in the scene. You know, if somebody's doing really well, I'm like, I want to do better. I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
like
yeah.
more success or whatever it is. I want more than that, and that's what pushes me. And also, it's just really fun. Like production is so fun. I get so much out of it. I enjoy it, like every aspect of it, even the annoying sides of it, where you know you're mixing or get listening to something over and over. Like I really just it's just like my happy place. So for me, I like can't wait to produce like every single day. I really can't wait to do something in music. So yeah, that's what kind of inspires me and keeps me going.
Nice. And would you say that, like, that competitiveness, because I know sometimes I think it would hinder people when people do compare themselves. For example, if you see someone, let's say if you haven't released in a while, like,
Yeah,
and then you see everyone else, releasing
yeah,
out there and you're like, oh God, I haven't made anything in months. So, but it sounds like you're actually channeling it for like
yeah.
better rather than thinking, I need to sort my shit out.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think it's, and this is going to sound egotistical, but I'm doing well now. Like I'm releasing very regularly, and like I'm getting onto an Anjunadeep and I'm getting gigs and all this stuff is going well. So now when I compare, I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing well, so I'm like winning in a way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, for sure. Back like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I would be comparing and competing and be like, oh, man, I need to grind. And so, but it helps, it made me push and work harder because I'll be like, okay, this person's doing this. How is he doing it? I wouldn't, and you have to be real like this, but if somebody's doing really well, it's because they've worked hard. Like, I'm not looking at them and going, oh, they're doing really well. Like, oh, they're more privileged than I am. Like, oh,
Oh no, yeah.
you know what I mean?
You're celebrating them as well, but
Yeah,
it's almost like a friendly competition. Like
yeah, for sure.
you respect these people, but
Yeah.
you're like, oh, he's got 3 tracks on here. I want that as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's it. That's all it is. It's not I'm not like hating, but yeah, it's definitely something that pushes me.
yeah. And
Um,
you are doing music full time at the moment.
yeah, for the last maybe 2 years now, I think it's been 2 years, maybe three, which is a combination of quite a few things, which we can go over. So yeah, like so I was a chef for like 12 years or 15 years, a long time, like most of my life, and I hated it. Well, I hated it towards the end. Like it's great to be able to cook. Like, I can cook now for the rest of my life, which is an amazing tool to have, and it enabled me to work all over the world, and just travel freely. But it's long hours. It's pretty depressing. It's bad money. Like there's a lot of bad sides to it, and so it like really got to me, and I had a bit of a like meltdown in my late 20s and was like, I need to get out of this. And so it was kind of from the start of when I started doing electronic music, I was like, I need to make this into a job. Otherwise, I'm going to be depressed or I'm going to be stuck as a chef for the rest of my life. And I don't want that. So I've always planned like, okay, how am I going to make money? And I would just look at just different avenues, whether it's like freelance work, whether it's like YouTube, whatever the avenues were. And then so I was like, okay, I need to build an audience or a way of having people, look at what I can do so they can see if I'm good at what I can do. Then I can sell something. I can sell preset packs. I can sell teaching and things like that. And so, yeah, like about 3 years ago or so, I started the YouTube channel Out of the Loop. And it it was slow. It's a learning process. The first few videos you do are like terrible, and they don't get many views. But then you keep going and you keep grinding. And I got really good with sound design. Like I focused quite a lot on sound design, kind of like knew everything about I could know about Diva and got really good at making my own sounds. And so then PML reached out to me after seeing like a video, which is Production Music Live, and they were like, "Yeah, do you want to do some work for us?" And so I started doing little bits here and there, just we started the sound design channel, which is like their separate channel, and so I just did little videos for them. It's like a bit of freelance work here and there, and so that kept me going and started giving me a way of making money, and so I could go part time in chefing. At the time, I was chefing in a school here in Stockholm, and yeah, I was like, okay, cool. I can like slow down a bit on the chefing, earn a bit of money with music, and that basically just started growing more and more. Like I started getting more and more money from music, whether it would be I'm taking on students, I'm setting up Patreon, more stuff with Production Music Live. And then nowadays it's accumulation of gigs, royalties, and Patreon and preset packs. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, and there's been times when I've been like broke and struggling. But now I'm like so happy. I'm so glad that I've worked hard at this, because I can now work for myself. I can choose when I want to work, and I can make music like whenever I want, which is the best.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful as well. I think there's a couple of things to take from that. One is, I think there is some connection with people who like to cook food and like to make and mix records. Honestly, it's so weird.
Maybe.
I'm the same, not on the same level, but you like cooking, and it's like ingredients, mixing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. But then I think the other thing is, I know PML is quite a big force now, should we say, particularly in the production side of it. I know you've got like Jules and people like that who's been with them for a while, Bound to Divide, and so you kind of got in with them at the right time, like not intentionally, but they're now quite a big outfit, particularly in the genres that everyone's making.
Yeah, for sure.
So
they're huge.
Yeah, and are you still doing much work for them now?
Yeah, so like the thing now is before I needed to work for them. Like I needed to do the odd jobs here and there, and sometimes the work that I would do for them wouldn't be like what I would really want to do, because it would be something for like melodic techno. Like a lot of what they do is melodic techno based, and I don't love melodic techno. So I'd be doing things more for money, and there's something about that doesn't quite sit right. But it's still like music. I'm still doing production for money, so it's like, okay, it's still a win. But I've been trying to build more of my own income, like from my own stuff, rather than doing it for them. So now I do jobs, but it's more like I can pick and choose the ones that I do a bit more. And so I recently just did a pack for Melodic House 5, which is basically like we create these audio loops from these orchestral tools, like sounds that you would normally use for like scoring films and stuff, and we make these really nice, beautiful loops that you can use in your tracks. And I've been part of like the last 5 of those, and so we just finished that one, which has been really nice to do. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. There is an ice cream truck coming. I don't know if you can hear it. So that's absolutely staying in the final one. Yeah. Because we were saying it's 23 degrees here at the moment.
Yeah, nice.
And we're both in our studios inside. So
yeah, I think it's what is it? I think it's 26 here. It's really hot.
Yeah, nice. That's perfect temperature, I'd say, as well. So
yeah.
But yeah, I'll go to the next question. I love hearing about this, because a lot of people I speak to, and you know what it's like with labels. It's kind of like sometimes the track that means the most to you and you love the most, you send, and people don't feel the same way. So
yeah.
Have you got a track that you personally adored or meant a lot to you? Was it received the same way, or was it kind of like, not the one?
I have a few. It's hard. I don't really have one, because they're all kind of different and they all mean something in a different way. Like I would say maybe the one that I really adore and like I listen to a lot is Erase, that shall release on Zerothree with Nuala or Nula. I really love like the way that came together, and for me it was like my first time working with such an incredible singer. It was like such a joy to work with those vocals, and yeah, when I finished it, I was like, I'm sure this is a banger. Like, when you're like, I'm sure this is the one. I'm really like certain. And then when it came out and it got like the response it got was like the best response I'd got from any of a song. Like so many messages, and he got played on like Kiss FM, and like big DJs were playing it, and now it's doing really well on streams and stuff. So yeah, that one that one was nice. You know, it connected with people the way that I hoped it would, and it's doing well. So
Nice.
I
And
would
so
say
that
that.
was an example of it working, I guess. Like one,
Yeah,
and maybe it's because the process was kind of a bit new. You were like, this is,
yeah, exactly. I
like a
wonder if
new
there is one.
experience.
I'm trying to think if there's one that I loved and it didn't get as much. Well, actually, yeah, there was. There's a track called My Heart, which I released on Eton Messi, which is like an old label. They've been around a while. Quite a few
Yeah,
people
when
have
Deep
released
House
them.
was like big back in the
Yeah,
day. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember it well. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, there was a song that I basically was working on for so long. It was one of those ones I couldn't like let it go. I was like, it needs to, because I think I was working on it and sending it to labels and it was getting rejected. And I was like, no, I know this is good. Like, I love it. And so, but then, yeah, I got it signed to Eton Messi and it just, yeah, like kind of tanked. Like, it didn't get any, they didn't do a great job with the promotion, if I'm being honest. Like, it didn't do well with streams, didn't do well with DJs, and just didn't really get heard. And I was like, oh man, all that time that I've put into
Yeah,
that.
it's quite a horrible feeling. And we had
Mm,
Max MXV on, and he had his first release on a supposedly prestigious label at the time. And
yeah.
then I think shortly after it, like, kind of went downhill. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of horrible when that happens.
Yeah. And so but you learn from it. Like, I definitely learned from that experience was just like, okay, don't get too attached. Like, you should, the song should mean a lot to you for sure, but you never know how they're going to do. It's so random, almost. I mean, there's a lot of randomness to it, as in terms of the success. Yes, if you make a great song, it should do really well, but sometimes it doesn't. Like, sometimes you do everything right, and you're so certain that it's going to do well, and it doesn't, and it's a bit heartbreaking. But you've got to just learn to move on and just make a new song. And
Yeah, especially with, this is something that even I've had to learn personally recently, but like,
mm,
you almost need to write so many tracks that you don't become emotionally attached.
yeah, for sure,
Like, if you're sitting on like one and then you're like, this is it, and sending it out. No, you need to send that out and then you need to be working on another one. And
oh,
then
for sure.
you can't get stuck in there. It's a horrible place to be.
100%. I make so many songs, possibly for that reason, or possibly just because it's fun. But it means that I sometimes forget about songs that I've done, and sometimes that's good, where I can go, okay, if I'm not thinking about this song, then like maybe it's not the one. But then sometimes I'll just be flicking through my SoundCloud, and be like, wait a minute, this is a banger. Why have I not like
Yeah,
done
but at
anything
the
with this?
time you couldn't appreciate it, which is why I find sometimes those late night ones or something, and you kind of do it, and then you're like,
Mm,
what? And like, you didn't have that it's a banger feeling at the time.
yeah, for sure. But then it just comes. But yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say there, but yeah, it's just have to learn to move on. I think that's all it is. Don't get too attached.
Yeah, quantity and quality,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
such a
for
thing
sure.
exists. So
Yeah.
I know you were talking a bit about, obviously doing more of your own like preset packs, sound design, that kind of thing without the
Mm,
loop.
yeah.
Obviously you've got, you're signing tracks on Anjunadeep, like Colorize. I know you've had releases on Hathor, like, which you'll be
Mm.
breaking down for us today. What's next? I know you said that, you're quite excited at the moment because you feel like you're like all of these targets you've had you're making, but what is the
Mm.
plan going forward?
Well, look, like I'm further than I planned to be when I started doing music. I like my plan, as I said, was to just make enough money so I can stop chefing. That was the initial goal, and obviously to make good music and all that. And then, the milestone, or like the goalpost, got pushed further and further as I was hitting that goal. So now I'm very content. Like, I'm very happy with where I am. So whatever does come next is a bonus. I'm happy. But I guess the next goal is to be touring more, and gigging all over the world, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what I'm kind of pushing for more nowadays. Yeah, the labels I'm working with, I'm working with them because I know that they have events that they can put on, or the events that they do put on, and they can put me on the lineup. And I kind of made that decision about a year ago, when I would have labels reaching out for demo or songs off me, and I would be like, okay, but they don't have any events, or or any kind of shows. So then, what's the goal? Like, what's going to happen if I keep releasing with them? I'm just going to do streams and whatnot. I'm not going to be able to, do shows. So that's why I've been really, pushing with Anjuna and Colorize, and so then I can get on more of their lineups. And so that's kind of the goal now, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good goal to have. And I think that's something to bear in mind. Like, you kind of want to be a part of the movement of it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And like you say, get the gigs, because you've probably written a lot now and you actually want to start playing it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like with my music now, I've written too much stuff where I have releases scheduled every single month for the next 2 years, which is like ridiculous.
That's actually fucking insane.
Yeah, like,
that's a lot. I bet it's a nightmare to manage as well, because you have to let them all know, and that's crazy.
It's but the joy is that 10 of them are with Anjunadeep, and so like all of next year pretty much is just going to be with Anjunadeep, and so they can manage all of it. It won't be I won't have to but this year has been a mess, and the start of next year has been a mess. It's been hard to juggle between them all. But yeah, it's a good problem.
Yeah,
but
that's a good roadmap to have.
Yeah, the problem with that now is that anything I work on won't come out for a long time, which is not the nicest feeling, because when you come round to it 2 years later, you're like, oh, I don't even like this song anymore, or
oh, you've moved on.
Yeah. So,
and you don't want to over release either, because then stuff gets lost and like it doesn't have a shelf life. And
yeah, exactly. But it's hard, man, because I make a lot of stuff. Like I don't want to stop making music, and I finish music quite quickly. It can take me like 2 or 3 hours to get like a really good strong idea down, and then I'll just mix it the next day, and so I've got a song within 2 days. And so then if I'm doing that two times a week, 3 times a week, then I've got 3 songs every week. It gets a bit out of hand.
Yeah, and sometimes I bet you've got like ones that you never thought will see the light of day, and they're just going to sit on a hard drive.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, so many. There's a lot of them. But yeah.
Well, yeah. Speaking of tunes, we are going to have a breakthrough. So Matt is good enough to break down Anyone, which is a track with, is it Taylor Renee?
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce
released on Hathor not long ago. So yeah, we're just going to swap over to the production side of it. So for those of you listening, this will be on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music first for about a week, and then you will obviously be able to follow on YouTube afterwards. So really important, if you want to see, exactly how the track's broken down, that you follow it on there as well.
Nice. Okay, I'll share my screen then, I guess. Oh, all right. Okay. So I guess let me think how this track started. So then we can go build up from there. I think this track started with the vocal. Yeah, it did start with the vocal. So I built up a good relationship with Hathor, with Rainier. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, strange name, but that guy who owns Hathor, and he sent me the singer. He said, I've got a singer that you can work with, and she sent over the vocal that you hear here.
You could love anyone, but you love me. You could love anyone, but you love me.
So she sent that, and obviously some other little bits that are in here. And so then I just built the chords around the vocal. And this is the best way to make music, I find, is when you get the vocal first, and then you build the track around it, which is not easy to do, obviously, if you don't have loads of singers to work with. But if you get the opportunity, or you get a great bit of vocal from a pack or something like that, and then you build the track around it, you can get some really nice results, because you can time the vocal, the chords around them, and harmonize nicely. So yeah, it started with these chords. Yeah, really nice chilled
Yeah, that's
chords.
super nice. And so was the vocal just literally sent on its own? There wasn't any melodic content?
They sent like a demo, so it was like it was vocal over a track that was terrible. It was like it's really badly produced song. But obviously, it was just to like put something there, and so then I just took the vocal and then put it into the track.
Nice. Those chords are really, really nice, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. So yeah, like with the timing of the chords, it was to work around. You can kind of hear, but you love me. Excuse my singing, but yeah, this. Oh wait, that's the washed out part. But the kind of main hooky part of a vocal.
But you love me.
And that's kind of what the timing of this is. You love me. So I kind of had that in there.
You're kind of teasing it in a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And so they kind of like talk to each other, and it like reinforces the hook. So yeah, I did the piano, and then I don't know, possibly the drums. I usually do chords and then drums because I feel like I'm pretty good at doing drums, so it kind of inspires me to do drums.
Is that probably from your grime days, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Or like hip hop, like when I was making a lot of that stuff, it's mostly drums that you're really focusing on, and then you have a small bit of melodic content. But yeah, so drums is kind of like my thing. I'll move along a bit here.
You could love anyone, but you love me. You could love anyone, but you love me. You could love anyone.
Yeah, get the idea there.
Yeah, those drums sound fantastic. And I was just going to say, there are two things I've noticed there. One is I can see the track is 122 BPM, but the way that the percussion's been done, it almost makes it sound faster, like with the percussion.
Yeah.
So how are you doing it? Are you doing it in like drum racks?
Yeah, this is how I usually work. So I'll load a bunch of drums from various things, my own drum packs or like PML stuff, some breakbeat stuff here. And so yeah, I'd like save these racks. This is my LAR rack from 2023, and then I just kind of build around them in here with the MIDI, like a lot of MIDI in here. I think what makes it feel fast is possibly because there's a lot of 16th notes that are being hit. It's like quite busy in a sense. So that's probably what it is. So these perks alone. On their own, they don't sound that great, but in context, it's. Oh, this guy's not working, but yeah, that's what I think I did. Next would have been the drums, and then probably the bass. And I think the bass is quite simple in this one.
Proper organic sounding, that is.
Yeah, that's this patch here that I use a lot. Just a bit of a madness going on with it.
Shameless self-promotion there. That's it. Out the loop preset, guys. Go check it out.
Yeah, so that's why I use a lot of the time for like kind of a mid bass. You see here I've got a sub bass, and then the mid is this one. So I'll just EQ away the lows. It's not super low. So it's very like percussive, this sound.
Oh, I love it when the filter opens up as well.
Yeah, it's the LFO on here. So it just gradually, every now and again, opens up. Quite a bit of like this on the secondary filter here. A lot of like what's called resonance, which is nice. Yeah, so that's what I use for the bass. You'll hear this sound in most of my tracks nowadays. I'm a bit addicted to it. So that's pretty much. Oh well, yeah. Then there's more melodics that come in here. Let's just play the bridge, I guess. So some of these sounds you're hearing here, like all the atmospheric weird sounds, that's all from the Hydra that I've got here. It's really it makes really nice pads. Very weird pad, but yeah. But nice. And then this one.
Whoa, is that all from there?
That's actually Playbox. I recognize the Playbox from
Yeah, Native Instruments.
Yeah, that Playbox is so good for this kind of like ear candy stuff. You can hear like there's vocal one shots in there and stuff. So yeah, that's what I use. I probably have it here. Yeah, but my complete control's not working. So, but yeah, this is from Playbox, and then some of the other stuff. Yeah, like whatever this is. Yeah, that's from the Hydra as well. But yeah, I'll keep playing the bridge.
You could love anyone, but you love me. You could love anyone, but you love me. Oh, you could love anyone, but you love me. You could love anyone, but you love me. You could love anyone, but you love me. You could love anyone, but you love me.
Yeah, you get the idea there.
Yeah, love it. I tell you what, that's the vocal. I know you said it was kind of like on its own or whatever, but I feel like that's really become like such a integral part of the track now. Like
Yeah.
it's really powerful. And there's a couple of things I noticed in there. The main melody on the drop is really interesting. Once again, I think all the sounds in this are sounding quite like organic and
Yeah.
like they're alive rather than like a sawtooth wave or whatever.
Yeah, it's something I really tried to do. I think especially it's weird. It's like whenever I do stuff for Hathor, I try to have this kind of like Afro-y influence in my music, whether it's like in the drums or whatever, because that's what I started with. Like the first few songs I did on Hathor were like I have a song called Roots, which is actually a personal favorite, and then Santi, which is like my most successful song. And that all has this same kind of feel, like strong piano chords, kind of like the piano music vibe in a way, but it's got my own obviously twist on that. And so then I tried to have everything very like organic and natural sounding. So that's what I was going for there. But yeah, with the vocal here, this is the later parts of the vocal that you hear here were after we made the initial instrumental. All she sent me beforehand was just this, the kind of like main hook, and no like ad libs or oohs and ahs and all that stuff. And so then I made the instrumental around the track, kind of finished it off, did the main melody, all that, and I was like, I need something more in this last half. And then she sent me this, which is really nice. This
But you love me,
strong voice.
That sounds awesome. Really, really good. And I can see like there's not loads of processing on there. Like,
No.
it's a good vocal, right? You don't need to process it too much.
Yeah, same with that's just my approach with everything. I really don't overprocess much. You'll see, like most things here. I mean, this has got a little bit on. It's got guitar rig, but my synths and the piano, bit of EQ, compression, stuff like that. Like on the individual drum channels, there's really not much. There's like nothing, just a bit of EQ and compression, and that's mostly all that I'm doing is EQ, compression, and saturation. I don't do much else. Because if I'm having to work a sound so much, it means that the sound's not good. So I need to either just swap it out.
Yeah, and I think one thing to me that's really sticking out is like the track all sounds very cohesive, is in like everything kind of calls and responses everything else. And I think that's really important. Like it sounds like a complete track. It doesn't sound like a track with a vocal. It doesn't sound like with a piano. So yeah, I think it's really important. And I can see you're using Massive X for the lead.
Oh yeah. So this sound is the same sound I used in Santi. It's this great little mallet sound, which I found. This is where it's a bit more distorted, but here, such a great sound.
I've never seen someone use Massive X, so that's why I thought I'd pick it out, because I know that when it came out, people thought it was blasphemy because it's like it wasn't massive, it wasn't making wubs anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, it's amazing. Massive X there's so much you can do with it, but it's like almost a bit intimidating. I find there's just a lot that you can do, and so I end up only using it for a few sounds. But I mostly just use it for that sound, to be honest. But yeah. That's pretty much the majority of the melodics in the track.
Nice, and I can see just on the effects side of thing as well. You haven't got loads of sends. Like, what are do you kind of have a template that you use? And
so I just use like different types of reverb. Like I have like the vintage one. I think this is more of a short reverb. So this will be like for some of the drums, and just elements I don't need to be super washed out. And then the Valhalla shimmer to just this is going to the vocal, and then the vocal is then being sidechained. The reverb is being sidechained from the vocal, so the vocal can come through. And then I just get this nice, pretty, like Valhalla shimmer is just such a lovely reverb.
I love Valhalla stuff, full stop. And I think for the money as well, like there is absolutely just
it's a steal.
Yeah, it's an absolute steal. So guys, if you haven't checked out Valhalla and if you haven't heard of it, I'm surprised, but you need to check it out because
it's especially the shimmer. Good. The shimmer for like melodic house, like it's just got this crystally prettiness that it adds to everything. You can hear it here.
Using the Pro MB like as a multi-band way to just dip, like
so Pro MB is probably my most used plugin, possibly Pro MB and Pro L. But I use Pro MB to duck everything from each other. That's kind of how I get a bit of cohesion with things like working with each other.
So sorry, like frequency specific sidechain for sounds.
Yeah, look, you see here, look, we've got the piano and the bass. So you have to make the decision of what you want to prioritize the most. So if I want the piano to be the most dominant thing, then I'll make something else sidechain out the way of the piano. In this case, I don't need these frequencies in the piano, so I'm sidechaining just the low frequencies to the bass on the piano. So if you listen to this, that's where it's very open and aggressive. But so the bass is allowed to come through and breathe in the low end, and then the piano can have its own room. I'll make sure that I always like EQ to cut away what I don't need from the bass.
But then it saves you having to high pass or low pass more than you need to when they're on their own.
Exactly.
And
I try to never do that. Like if I make a sound or have a sound, I try to let it be what it is and then just compose it around each other, like try to make it so they work with each other just through the composition. And if I can't do it with the composition, then I'll do it with like a Pro MB and try and get it to just like duck out the way when it needs to, not all the time.
Yeah, it also really helps with loudness as well. Like if
Yeah.
you want to get stuff super, super loud, I know that a lot of, mastering guys and stuff will tell you, but all of the plugins now should have a frequency specific sidechain option.
Yeah.
Because we're not all liking the Daft Punk sound for Melodic House as such. But no, it's
No, yeah.
interesting that you're doing it, on each sound, and it's not, is it particularly drastic or?
Maybe in some areas, I think like this might be quite drastic. The range is very long, but the threshold isn't, and the ratio is not that high. So you can see it's not like really, really ducking it out the way. So it's just like subtly until I can hear that there's room. Yeah, just like a bit here. The piano is a bit louder than it was supposed to be because I had a bit of problems with the piano when I loaded the project up. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do. This is the Moog as well here that you can hear the sub 25 that I'm using.
Fat, as expected.
Yeah, it's the sound that it produces. I've not been able to recreate that with Diva or with anything. It just has this body to it. And so, yeah, I try to use it all the time because that's kind of what can separate me a little bit from other people. Everyone's using Diva and Serum or whatever for their bass. And so if I can have a fairly expensive piece of hardware that not everyone has that I use into my bass, then it's going to sound a bit different.
And also makes you commit to stuff as well. Like I find if you have a hardware synth or a hardware, anything, you have to print the audio out, and it makes you a little bit more like confident, I guess. It's like, no, this is the bass. Yeah. Let me change the cutoff live over the track, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And then you perform it. Like you perform. I kind of like performed the bass over this period here. And it's like I did a few takes on it, like opening the cutoff, playing around with it a little bit, and then it's like it's a bit more lively. And because otherwise, the automation I would do with Diva or whatever, though you can assign a macro and play with it yourself, I end up not doing that, and I end up just using my mouse and just opening the cutoff kind of like unnaturally, or it'll possibly sound natural, but you know what I mean. Like with this, I can kind of like do it as the notes are changing and react to things that are in the track, and so it sounds a bit more organic.
Nice. Well, I think that's really interesting. And then I suppose in terms of like, I mean, it's quite nice to not see that much processing, to be fair, but you doing all your self masters as well. I mean, a lot of people are now.
Yeah, I think like once you understand how everything works, like if you have a good understanding of compression and saturation and EQ and the tools that you need to do anything, to do mixing and mastering, once you understand how they work, then you could do your own master because mastering engineers are using the same tools. Obviously, sometimes they have real like onboard pieces of gear that they're using, but also I've sent my tracks off to be mastered by people and then I've not been happy with the result, and then it's like, all right, I've just spent that bit of money and I could have done a better job.
Yeah, and I think for those listening, if you are going for labels and stuff, and this is something that I do personally, I know a lot of other people do, but at least if you give them something that's good enough to hear, then you can make changes. Because if you pay for a master and then they ask for changes, you're really, really stuck. And I think it's worth learning. And quite a lot of times as well, labels will want to self-master for the label. That's also okay, but at least you've given them something that they can, get a good impression of, basically.
Yeah, for sure. You just need to get it to a competitively loud level. And obviously, like, not have any obvious nasty frequencies in there, which is as simple as just slapping an EQ8 and a limiter. Like that could be your master if you're new at producing, and sometimes that is what my master is. I think possibly before I got this officially signed and sent him the master, it would have just had a Pro L limiter on here, and that's it, and this like drop effects thing. That's usually all I have for like the kind of demo stage. And I'll send it to Anjuna or whoever, because if I get it to sound too big and good with a master, and then they're like, oh, we want to master it ourselves. Like, oh, it's not going to sound the same. So I don't go too hard with the mastering.
Nice. I can see you've got the glue compressor, which is easily Ableton's best.
Yeah, it's so
Love
good.
it.
It's used on possibly every single thing. Oh, not the groups, but yeah, I use it so much on individual channels. It's very handy. But
Nice. And this track is out now on all platforms.
yeah,
I personally really like it. And I think before I even asked, do you want to do this one? Because I really like it, mainly because it's organic and it's, it's just interesting. And I really like the vocal. But yeah, thanks very much for breaking that down. And
No
I'll
worries.
say it again for those listening, this will be available to follow on YouTube. I highly suggest you do because it will make so much more sense.
yeah.
So yeah, I think we're going to do some more kind of non-dance music related questions. So we're going to close this down and then head over. So yeah, Matt, thanks for breaking down Anyone. That was really, really interesting. I think people will get a lot out of that, seeing how it was made.
No worries.
So yeah, some more music related questions away from dance music.
Okay.
And you kind of mentioned this earlier already, but favorite non-dance music artist or album of all time, and is there anything that you try to capture in your own productions?
I wouldn't say an album, but some of my favorite artists that I still listen to now, and I listened to most of my life is Gets and Kano from like the grime scene. I love
I
those
love
artists.
I love him as well, especially Kano. I really do.
But for me, like Getz is like he's one of those people that he's just grown so much and his sounds changed and he's just got better and better and better and been so consistent. And he's just his ability to just MC is unreal. I mean, not all of his songs I love, but yeah, there's a lot of what he does. And so I don't know if I take inspiration from it into my music because it's kind of a different world, but possibly within some way it kind of transfers into my music, something to do with maybe the groove and the timing and the like hip hop influence from it probably comes into my music a little bit. But I couldn't say I particularly take one aspect and apply it to my music at all. No.
Nice. And so maybe, I don't know, is there no like grime samples that you're throwing in over anything or?
No, I mean like when I started in electronic music, I tried to I was making more like aggressive like melodic techno, I guess. And that was my way of kind of like staying within this kind of grime feeling, if you know what I mean, like the kind of aggressive, dark, moody side of music. And so that's why I tried to keep it in that kind of world. But then I just found that I was like I wasn't always in the mood to just make sad, dark music all the time. Like I wouldn't say sad, but like melodic techno is you don't have like happy or like warm melodic techno, or maybe warm, but it's generally like a certain mood that it captures, and it's a similar mood every single time. And so if you're in a good mood and you're in a happy mood and you just want to make something pretty, you that means you don't make music that day.
No, because you're locked in.
Yeah, exactly. So so that's why I stopped doing that and went into more of the melodic housey stuff.
Never say never, though. Might be a few samples thrown in there. In fact,
Yeah.
maybe that should be a challenge, is that you've got to put it and it's got to be signed somewhere and we've all got to try and figure out what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, next question seems pretty generic, but I think it's interesting to hear because it's quite, a lot of people's answers are similar or whatever, but
Yeah, I think mine's going to be the same.
yeah, favourite film soundtrack of all time.
Yeah, Interstellar.
Yeah, I think that might have been the third time out of 4 or 5 episodes we've had that. Yeah. Tell us a bit about it. Why so?
Well, actually, I could go into say June 2 is now become like maybe my favorite, but it's just because it's more recent. But I don't really know. I mean, Interstellar is my favorite film of all time. So and the soundtrack it's just amazing. I don't know what it is or why it's so amazing, but yeah, it just gives you those feelings and it's very memorable.
It's
I even
intense. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a song called Interstellar. I made and I based the song around like the melodies in that in from the soundtrack. Cause I was trying to learn the like on piano how to play Interstellar, and so I spent a few days trying to do that, and then I kind of like made a song around it, and obviously like changed things so it didn't sound exactly the same. But yeah,
Interesting.
that's on Zerothree, by the way, if anyone wants to check that out. It's called Interstellar.
Nice. That is well, you've really captured it already then as well. And I think it shows how much you like it. So
Yeah.
um and I know that you are, because I've spoken to you about this before. And I know that Max and others have tried to get me to do it, which is, are you currently or have been a gamer? If so, what is your favorite game soundtrack of all time?
Well, right. I'm not sure if this counts, but it's FIFA. Like FIFA, the sound, the music on FIFA
Love it.
is
Haven't
so
had it.
good. It's so good. Like, I mean, do you play FIFA or?
I have done, yeah. And the
Yeah.
soundtracks are always
They're
good, to be
sick.
fair.
They're like they don't fail. Every year there's always bangers on there, and there's like some artists that we would recognize, like Tourist. He's been on there, and I discovered him through FIFA. There's a lot of artists that I discovered
It's like
through
glass
FIFA.
animals and stuff like that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
many, and it's a dream of mine to get on to FIFA. That I really really want to get a song on there because it's just like I mean I play it a lot. So
Well, that's the next goal, surely. That's what
Yeah.
you need to add. That's where the goalposts are going to go.
yeah, exactly. I've got a game. I've got my Santi is going to come out onto a game. There's like a new football game coming out called UFL or something like that, and
So close.
yeah, yeah, close enough. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe in a few years, I'll make a FIFA type of song.
Yeah, although it's not actually FIFA anymore, is it? What's it called?
Yeah, what's it called? FC
FC 24. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that counts really. It's not like a soundtrack. It's not like role playing games like Red Dead or Skyrim. Like they all have beautiful soundtracks throughout them. It's more of a individual songs on FIFA. But I have to say FIFA, man.
Yeah, nice. Probably because it's more diverse as well. And like you said, you're not strictly listening to one thing. So no, that was a good answer. I haven't had that before. So
sweet.
So next question is, and you can be as honest as you feel comfortable with. Is there anything you hate about the music industry or in the electronic music scene in particular?
Yeah, I wonder how careful I should be here. But yeah, I mean the music industry is messed up a lot in a lot of ways. Obviously, streaming income is horrendous for artists. That's a very big aspect of it that I hate. But also, yeah, sometimes working with labels can be a pain, and they can be quite greedy, and yeah, just not very fair to producers. Like one example is just how a label will happily give a large advance to a singer, but it's very hard to get an advance for the producer, and the producer does so much work on a song. Obviously vocals are incredibly important for music, and it can sometimes be the difference between the song getting signed, but they're nothing without the producer behind them. And so there needs to be a bit more, respect for what the producers do. And I'm not saying that income equates to respect, but it does help. If they give you a little something or give you a high percentage. So yeah, there's stuff like that is pretty frustrating, and I have kind of shared those problems with the labels, and the general answer that I get is that's just the way it is, which is like
and it's hard to hear, isn't it? And I think it's you're probably working more and more closer and closer as well, and you probably see like the the level of nepotism that there can sometimes be, and particularly if it's a vocalist that everyone knows, and it's like, well, you're just the producer or whatever. But is that something that you're actually finding out more as you get more your foot in the door, would you say?
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, the higher up you get, I guess, you work with bigger and bigger vocalists, and so then they have bigger and bigger fees, and then they ask for more and more of your percentage. So yeah, Yeah. I hate like shit talking, anything in particular in the scene because it's just how it is. And I can't complain too much. Like things are still going well. It's just like yeah, aspects of it can annoy you, and you have to just kind of like grit your teeth and just go, all right, cool.
Yeah, but also I think it would be, and this isn't trying to expose anyone or like make you
Mm.
say anything to get cancelled. I think it's like, because you're in the scene, like, you
Yeah.
need to know these opinions. I think it's really important to not just have the, rose tinted glasses on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. I always just wonder if things are better now than they used to be. Like, was it better before streaming? Was people making more money? Possibly, but then people were like just stealing music anyway through like Pirate Bay and things like that. So I'm not sure if how much it's improved. Like now with Spotify and things like that, you're getting so much more reach than you were before. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Don't
It's almost like reinventing what an artist is meant to be like.
Mm.
You're trying to sell a personality and like
Yeah.
a brand more rather than a song.
Yeah, well, that also, yeah, just bring me on to the other thing that does bother me is that it's so social media like driven. It's like you really have to be a bit of a character or something on social media. And if you're a bit of a recluse or a bit of a somebody that's not that outgoing, then it's hard to do that. And a lot of like my students and people that I work with, they hate being on camera and taking photos and doing that, and then they're like worried that they're never going to get their music signed because they don't have a certain amount of influence followers on Instagram, and it's probably true. That's what's sad is that a lot of the labels are looking for a certain amount of followers rather than how good the music is.
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of rewards being that way. Like,
Yeah,
that's the way it works currently, but I'm sure like, give it 5 years or whatever, it might be slightly different.
yeah, exactly. It's rewarding the wrong thing rather than just like making great music. It's
Yeah, and I feel like that's where you lose like a lot of these, smaller producers are writing some amazing tracks, like
mm,
really, really good. And, it's like they're off the shelf already. So,
yeah, exactly.
but speaking of producers,
Mhm.
so, and I know you're obviously writing a lot of your own music, and I know you said you don't spend ages listening to melodic house and that kind of thing, but what producers to look out for in 23, 24, like, or 2024, should I say, not 2023? What,
Yeah.
yeah, is there anyone
Hmm.
you've got your eye on or?
Well, I mean, there's people I don't know whether I should say people that are already doing well. There's like Knox Van and Resident. Like they're people that I listen to regularly, and Choz, who's someone who do you know Choz? See,
Yes.
yeah, on like Still Vor Talent and all that. People like them, they're who I listen to for inspiration, like a lot of the time. But obviously, they're people that people already know. There's another guy called Julian Schwartz who just did a release with Claire. He's super talented. Somebody that I taught a very long time ago, and he's just got a very unique sound. And of course, the ADE boys. I need to give a shout out to
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So like
Third time they've
MXV,
made it on.
yeah. So MXV, Benatti, and LGU, and Bound to Divide, of course. All really talented producers. I listen to. I probably hear their music more than anyone else because we have a feedback group chat. So yeah, they have some great stuff coming out.
Yeah, I've heard, well, me and Max have obviously been writing some stuff, but then
Yeah, they're sick.
yeah.
I heard. Well, I think we played it in London. I played one of yours in London at the Colorize gig, and it went off. It was sick.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's really good. But and then yeah, so we got Luca, like Time Marches On, like all of that new
Mm,
sound. Like, it's going a bit more clubby, and I love it. I'm a big fan
yeah,
of that. So I agree with you on those. Like Benatti's new stuff is great.
yeah, man. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and stay tuned about that, guys, as well, because might be
You never
another
know.
guest on. Um, but yeah, no, I think he's had some great releases, and yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
they're all just good guys as well. Do you know what I mean? It helps.
Yeah, really nice guy and really helpful. It's great to get a bit of a community, like your own personal community in production. Like there's loads of communities out there through Discord, and it's great to be a part of those kind of things, but they can become a little bit less personal when it's like a big group of thousands of people within a Discord, or hundreds of people. And feedback you can get can sometimes just be not not healthy feedback, because I used to do that back in the day. I used to go into these forums or discords to try and get feedback on my music, and then you just get these opinions from people that are either listening on like terrible headphones or speakers, and then giving you uneducated opinions on your music. And it's
Yeah,
not good.
or it's the other way. It's like they end up feeding you ego,
Yeah, exactly.
and they don't actually give you constructive feedback. And I think that's
Yeah,
really important and something which I really respect. Like if you send
yeah,
it to someone, they're going to tell you,
yeah. When
like,
they're just honest, then they're
yeah,
not trying to
and
be your friend.
exactly, yeah, and like 'cause they want to help you. If
Yeah,
something's sticking out, like tell them
yeah,
so
one
they can
hundred
make it
percent.
better.
So yeah, if there's any new producers listening, try and get yourself a little community, a little group of 2 or 3 people or whatever that make good music, and then just kind of stick within that little group. I would say that definitely does help a lot for feedback.
Yeah, motivates you as well. Like everyone's kind of,
Yeah,
especially when that's what I always find is that if you're like having a writer's block or whatever, you speak to someone else and they've probably
yeah,
had it last week and then it'll be someone else's turn next week. So
yeah, exactly. You all go through the motions together, and production can be a lonely place if you don't have anybody to chat to about it. Like my girlfriend has no idea about anything in music, and so like talking to her about it is just like pointless in a way. She's just like has no idea. Like I when I signed to Anjunadeep, she's like, "Who's that?" Like, what do you understand? Like, so yeah, it's good if you can have people that all understand production, so you can go through all of the motions like with them. It really
yeah, the
really does
yeses
help.
and the nos as well. I think that's really
Yeah,
important. Like, um,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
you can just kind of build each other up.
Yeah, man.
And the last question,
Mhm.
which and I've had quite a few different answers on this one, is what is going to be the genre of 2024, 2025? What's the next
Mm.
big thing?
That's a hard question. I mean, I don't know. I think if I just look at like who's doing well, like or who's blowing up, it would be like Barry Can't Swim, and Fred Again's obviously like already blown up. But Fred Again's kind of pushing a bit of a garagey sound in a way, and so maybe that could be the thing. Or then there's like Barry Can't Swim, who's doing more like disco kind of things. Maybe disco will come back. I don't know. Or possibly with artists like Marsh and Ben Böhmer going to like bigger labels. Marsh it seems like he's gone over to Warner now, and then Ben Böhmer's gone to like Ninja Tune. Maybe though their sound will become bigger and bigger, and so then maybe it'll be Melodic House that will.
Yeah, maybe. And I think that I'm with you on the garage one. I think there's a lot of
Mm,
DJs now who are like slightly more underground, but you've got like Interplanetary Criminal, people like that,
mm,
who are playing all
yeah,
this garage. And people listening to it at the festivals,
yeah,
not necessarily new garage tunes, but you can kind of hear that in, Fred and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I thought I had an answer last year and
mm.
I was like, oh, I think it's going to be garage or drum and bass. And actually, I'm not
What do you
sure.
think? What do you think now?
I think garage. I think garage is
Yeah,
on the up. I think it's influencing everything everywhere. I'm
yeah,
definitely using it in like drums and stuff, and I can hear tracks getting a bit faster, like
yeah,
or yeah, little bit of influences everywhere. It's not like garage is back garage. It's like
yeah.
little
No.
sprinklings, like
Yeah,
over mono,
BPM
people like
changes,
that.
and yeah, for sure. I think it's Fred, because Fred has easily been he's easily been blown up more than anybody else has in the last, I don't know, 10 years,
I
20
think
years.
he's
He's
gone stratospheric, to be honest.
yeah, like so big. He's super because he's so incredibly talented, and so but a lot of the sound that he was making is this kind of like garagey UK sound, and so then it's gone into a lot of people's music. So yeah, it wouldn't be a bad guess. But also, there's a one genre. It's a bit hard to give give that answer as just like a one genre. There's genres that are really like coming back and blowing up now. There's like psytrance. So many people listen to psytrance now. I can't stand psytrance.
As an ex-trance producer, I do not listen to that anymore. But
No.
I think, we've had drum and bass at Ultra main
Yeah.
stage. But I just hope that the Americanism doesn't happen to drum and bass like it did with dubstep, because I think
Yeah.
drum and bass has been there for so long. It's like a pillar of UK music. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
and now it's
Yeah.
like four to the floor in a lot of it as well. I'm like, I don't.
Oh,
get
what
it.
really?
Yeah, it's like drum and bass, and then it like comes into like four to the floor, almost like hardcore stuff. Yeah,
I've not
heard a
heard
lot
that.
of it.
Maybe I should. I'll have a listen. No, I've not heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I might ruin it for you, so maybe not.
Yeah, don't send me that.
But yeah, look, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks for
No,
doing
man.
this remotely.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, honestly, they're very insightful. I think what I love about doing this is that everyone's opinions on production or whatever are so different.
Mm.
But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, the track, if you want to introduce it for those who want to listen, and any other tracks that are coming out as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the track that you heard in the breakdown or walkthrough was Anyone, which is out on Hathor, came out this month. And then the release I've got next month is on Colorize, which is possibly might be one of my favorite tracks I've done. Well, there's two tracks, but the main one is called For You. And I can't remember the date when that comes out, but it comes out next month. So yeah, look out for that, and some stuff on Anjunadeep as well.
Yeah, there's two on the compilation as well that we said earlier.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's what's it called? The Warning Signs and Don't Let Me Down. They are on Anjunadeep 15. But then I've got two EPs and like a mini album coming out on Anjunadeep next year, I think.
Nice. I mean, that is a lot of music to look forward to. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And for those of you listening as well, like, this will be on Spotify, Amazon and whatnot beforehand, and Apple Music. And then you'll also be able to follow the video on YouTube as well. So if you really want to get the most from the production, definitely watch it on there. But yeah, thanks so much.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
For you.